Morning, folks. Welcome back. Let me get Facebook on board, and then we'll get underway. Right, that's Facebook on board. Alistair, thank you. Thank you very much. The bank account will be needing a boost, to be honest with you, Alistair, because as you know, we get it all away. And thanks to you guys, £2,400 is now in the hands of baby banks, 4 of them. They each get £600 a head. Okay, and that's thanks to you guys. And the representatives of these organisations, Catherine, Carlan, Agnes, and Peter, thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe this afternoon I'll throw a couple of their thank you emails up. Right, anyway, welcome to the first show of 2025. I know it's halfway through the month, more or less, but Happy New Year, folks. I have to say I needed that break. Apart from the Christmas Day special and the nerdy natter, I haven't really done anything. Except for one TikTok, I'm coming back today. Okay. Now, we're nearly at the 100 mark. Once we're there, we'll get this broadcast underway. So, as I say, welcome, folks. Quick reminder of the rules of the show. If you're late, your arse goes in the naughty step. Don't burn it on the candle. Profanities are the norm. And I've been known to rant. So if that's no your thing, you're in the right fucking station. Right. I think I got the first 7 seconds out the road there. Anyway, the lives are not monetized, it's just what you guys give us. And we get away, as you know. Right. So, we get first Facebooker on board. Hello, Harry. So, let's get this broadcast underway, shall we? It's Andy Truck Davey, the truck and up home in his office in Salmond, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast. This morning, 10 degrees. Absolute Scotch chill compared to what it was last week. And thankfully, the 4 inches of snow that's been outside my window all week, or all last week, is gone. But a wee swing in temperature, a big swing in temperature. Midweek last week, didn't get above -6. And a bloody cold week, especially as I work outside. Anyway, let's get this started, shall we? First up this morning, now that we're on the 100 mark, I normally put the first rag in the review up, but because it's Murdoch's rag, the sun, it's not going up. Anyway, what's the sun got to say for itself today? Widow breaks silence. Let Alex rest in peace. Now, this comes after Nicola Sturgeon, the previous First Minister, or one of the previous First Ministers, was interviewed, and she was asked about Alec. And she said a couple of times her and John had to step in because Alec was a hard taskmaster and demanded the very best of people. But I'm sorry, Moira. I don't know where you get this mad idea that Alec was going to be left to rest in peace. Now that he's passed, and a wee bit of time's passed since he passed, people are going to delve into the man's history, they're going to delve into the man's record in office, and they're going to ask the people who were associated with him at the time what he was like to work for. And as we all know, apparently he was a bloody hard taskmaster, bordering on being a bloody bully. But he got things done. But this idea that Moira's in the papers asking people to let him rest in peace, put his head above the parapet, it's there to be shot. And now that the man's gone, people are going to go through his record. Right, I'll put the next one up. The next one up's a Herald. And the Herald runs in the same story. Duncan will get your super chat in a minute, mate. Thank you very much. And the Herald, Salmond's widow and pleased to critics of late husband. Sorry, Moira, it's going to happen. I criticised him while he was alive. And if the story headline comes along that I think is worth sharing with people, I will. And then I'll criticise him again. Because that's just how it happens. People criticise me because I put my head above the parapet and I expect that to be the case. We'll take that back down again. So it would appear that Moira is no happy. That people, especially reporters, are going to ask ex-colleagues about her man. I'm sorry if things are still sore for you, Moira, but that's what happens. Right, the Daily Fail has the 380 million green energy contract. Now, it's not a contract, folks. This happens in many industries. If the officials come along and ask you to stop production, then you want compensated. If I'm running any sort of operation and the powers to be in that operation come along and tell me to cease operations because there's too much of what I'm producing in the market, I'm going to tell them, sure. How much? Simple as that. Now, there are times when the grid, the national grid, asks Scotland's wind energy providers to shut down production because there's too much in the system and we have nowhere to send it to. No, even England or overseas don't have the interconnectors. So there's times when we just have to say, nope, shut it down. And at that point in time, of course, whoever's been asked to shut their business down is going to look for compensation. So it's not a £380 million contract. £380 million has been paid out over the last decade and a half or something like that, where one generation has been big here in Scotland, to energy producers when the national grid has asked them to shut down. Simple as that. It's not a contract. To say, if I'm running an operation and the powers to be in that particular sector come along and say to me, shut it down, I'm going to say, compensation, please. After all, I've still got all these people to pay. I've still got overheads to cover. I've got all the goods sitting there waiting to be turned into products. Of course, I'm going to want compensated. And the same goes for the energy providers. So the idea that it's a contract for the Daily Fail, nah, it's common practice. Right. The Times says tech firms can plunder NHS archives and bid to fuel artificial intelligence. And apparently Labour's push for net zero hands power to Beijing. As we know, Rachel Reeves just come back to Beijing. I'll come back to China. Anyway, on to the first one. Tech firms can plunder National Health Service archives and bid to fuel AI. Doesn't matter what they find there. This is a big flaw in AI. AI, artificial intelligence, only works well if it gets good information. But how that information is programmed into that so-called artificial intelligence is subject to man error. Because there's got to be somebody feed it in. Simple as that. As for artificial intelligence, folks, as you know my opinion on artificial intelligence, man's no fucking intelligent enough to have invented artificial intelligence. If you don't believe me, just have a look at the Middle East, have a look at Africa, have a look at Ukraine and Russia, where the answer to all problems is still beating each other with a big fucking stick. The notion that man could create artificial intelligence is fucking right off the Richter scale. Ah. Hey, we've seen that, Robert. William. Right, so that was the Times, and apparently Labour's push for net zero hands power to Beijing. Well, apparently England wants to buy in turbines for Beijing because Labour's changed the rules down there, where they're now going to be allowed to erect onshore wind farms. Right, let's move on. The Scotsman has Radcliffe. We are squeezing the life out of manufacturing. Now, this is the guy that's shutting down the processing of oil into fuels in Grangemouth, even though it's a profit-making enterprise. But he's bemoaning the fact that he's having to shut down an ethanol plant somewhere because there's no market for it. The market was in the EU, I think. There you go. Right, the Daily Rancid has exclusive First Minister leads crisis response. Swinney, my NHS mission. This isn't a fucking exclusive. John is the First Minister. All the ministers report to him and answer to him. The fact that he's leading the charge on the NHS crisis, of course he fucking is. If you believe there's a crisis there. It's under pressure, but we get this nonsense every winter. Every winter. And what's the fucking Express quote for us today? The loony right-wing rag. I think I've got that one actually. I think I'll put it up. Let's have a look. The Express. Yeah. Here we go. Don't normally put this piece of shit up, but here we go. Britain under tax assault from inept Labour. And of course, this is senior Tory. James Cleverly says families and businesses are suffering. Senior Tory! If that's what's senior in the Tory party now, no wonder they're fucking almost extinct. Britain under assault, tax assault from inept Labour. Well, there's a lot of truth in that. Because at this point in time, the bonds market is basically drawing all the money out of the situation here in the UK. Why is that? There's an imbalance that there hasn't been since the 1980s. And that is that at this point in time, inflation and interest rates are sitting higher. The inflation and the high interest rates, and of course Rachel Reeves' mad budget, means for the first time since the 1980s, it costs more to service the UK's debt than what the daily tax take is in the UK. So there's a bad imbalance there. GDP normally rises faster than interest rates and inflation. And because the inflationary pressures, GDP goes up each year, which normally gives the government wriggle room in their budget. But because of Reeves' budget and the jittery bonds market, that wriggle room just isn't there. In fact, it might well be a deficit at this point in time, which puts the public finances into a very bad way. And that means that Rachel Reeves might be coming back with an emergency budget just shortly. And that will mean more tax rises, folks. That will mean more tax rises, and it won't be on businesses this time. It won't. It'll be on the ordinary man in the street. Right. So that was a loony rag, the Express for you. The Telegraph has Cabinet told cuts must be ruthless. And as we've just explained, they're in financial trouble. They say GDP is no rising, but interest rates are high, and inflation is likely to go up a wee bit again this year. Not much, between 2.5 and 3%. The Bank of England's target, of course, is 2%. But at this point in time, as I say, GDP is no rising. The normal effect of inflation isn't happening. Right. The National has independence not off radar, Swinney insists. And this is also down to that interview where Nicola was asked about Alec. She was asked about where we are on independence, and she said, as far as she can see, it's off the table at this point in time. And I have to agree. And John's just stated if he wins the 2026 election, he intends to serve the full 5 years. Question is, what's he going to do with the result? Because nobody knows. He's not telling us. And I see young Reagan Elite is there this morning. Folks, Alistair's just dropped a link to Reagan's channel in the comments. Get a review, get a like, get a subscribe. Thank you. Same with Daily Blase, Maximilian Robespierre, Political X, Big Man Studios. All great outlets. All great outlets. Right, now, where are we? The National. They say, Nicola thinks that it's on the back burner. John's saying, no, it's not. Well, John, you better make your pitch shortly. We've got an election coming up. Right. The Eye has Grindr dating app linked to dozens of child sex abuse cases. I have absolutely no doubt that all the dating apps out there will have the same problem. The Grindr thing, it's down to these fucking culture wars and this gender nonsense. Just let people be who they want to be. But as to these apps being a draw for young people and kids get curious, they end up in these bloody apps. Now, I believe Grindr is a gay app, which is interesting because just the other day there, former Labour, a Veterans Minister, and of course the leader of Labour's Friends of Israel, chairperson, was arrested, Ivor Kaplan, arrested in Sussex, where he was on his way into town to meet a wee boy apparently. Anyway, it's an ongoing investigation, so you can't say much about it apparently. But this guy served from 1997 to 2005 as an MP, ex-soldier, apparently, Jew as well, but the religious part's not really important. The part is he's CEO of Labour's Friends of Israel. And after all the things that the Israelis accused the Palestinians of, this doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. Well, aye, don't forget all shots. There's a Cranton output as well, folks. Right. Finally, for this morning, we have the Star. Well, we see what the Star's got for us. And this is related to what William was saying about Richard Murphy asking if Trump's going to come after Scotland, after Greenland. You know, strategically, Scotland is one of the gateways into the Northwest Passage. If he can't get Greenland, is he going to come for Scotland? Well, anyway, what's the Star got for us today, shall we? Shall we have a wee look? Clarkson asks Orange man baby to bag Britain in transfer window. Psst, wanna buy Britain? Yeah, we get Clarkson dressed like Del Boy. Brilliant. Glad to see the stars no lost its touch. But now, strategically, of course, Scotland and the whole of the UK, when it comes to Europe, would be of interest to this man baby moron. But he'll get the same response from Scotland as he got for fucking Greenland. And that will be, fuck off, you loon ball. So, but would they get the same response for Westminster? I don't know. Nigel Farage and his bunch of loonies seem to think it would be in our interest to become the 51st or 53rd or 54th state, whatever it is. After all, where's he going after? He's going after Panama. He's going after Mexico. He's going after Canada. And he's going after Greenland. So maybe that means the 55th actually. One thing's for sure. He might be wanting England, but he's certainly no getting Scotland. And of course, as we know, there's a debate going on between the Greens and the SNP on whether First Minister John Swinney should snub this big orange man baby. And of course, the answer to that is no. The First Minister can't snub him. First Minister's job is to represent us whenever a dignitary or foreign leader comes to visit. It's part of his duties. You know, whether he likes it or no, John sometimes has to deal with these people. And as we know, normally foreign policy is reserved. But every bugger in its dug wants a slice of Scotland. After all, there is good reasons behind it. We have vast natural resources, and we have a highly intelligent, well-educated population who speaks the international language, and that's why inward investment in Scotland is bigger than anywhere else in the UK out with London. And that's why Scotland is the powerhouse of the UK, and it's why, of course, England desperately needs to hold on to Scotland, because we've just talked about the way that Westminster has mismanaged the finances to the point where GDP is no moving, but everything else is going up, and it means that they can't cover the debt. And there's only two ways out of that, and we know fine well that Starmer and Reeves is not going to tax the rich, because after all, like the rest of the fuckers down that road who have been in power, they've all got corporate handlers. They're all in hock to some corporate body or other, some lobby group or other. And as we know, the whole front bench of the Labour Party, which is the current Westminster government, is owned by the Israel lobby. But no doubt there are others amongst the Israel lobby. So, if Reeves has got to come back with an emergency budget, which is highly likely, you and me and everybody else on these islands is going to get fucking clobbered, except for that 1%. That 1% which now holds all England's resources and most of Scotland's resources, with the exception of water. The only way to bring balance back to this economy and to stop the slide in living standards is to tax the wealthy and take back what's ours. It's no fucking rocket science. Now, I have been asked to explain how the economy works, and how a market economy works. Well, I'm going to do it in simple language, the way I always do. I mean, we could go into how GDP, inflation, and interest rates all affect the mix, how demographics affect the mix, and things like that. But I'm going to give you the pure basics. And the pure basics is a market economy is exactly what it says. I produce something, I take it to market, people buy it. I continue to produce it, improve it, new innovations, that sort of thing to keep the business growing. But when people don't have disposable income in their pockets, then they don't go and spend in the market. What's the day is buy food, pay bills, and batten down the fucking hatches. So therefore your market economy fails. Okay, so it's very basic. If we Mrs. McGlumfer isn't buying a new sofa, then you can shut the fucking sofa factory down. If we Mrs. McGlumfer isn't replacing her television with a smart TV or an even smarter TV, then you can shut down the TV factory. If Davy Boy here is keeping his motor an extra 5-10 years, then you can close the fucking car factories. It's no rocket science. Alright, that's it for this morning, folks. Thanks for joining us for the first newspaper review, a news headline review of 2025 for me. And we'll be back this afternoon, of course, for the Two Davies at 4 o'clock for the first Two Davies. Now, I've got the book there. I'm just going to barter doing a couple of things that we're going to speak about. It's going to be quite loose this afternoon. David and I haven't just been having a break for broadcasting. We have barely spoke to each other either over this fortnight, which is quite unusual. But we are having a break. Because all that happened is him and I were chatting. We get right dived into current affairs again. So it's best just to turn off for a couple of weeks. And I've needed it. And I have spoke to David and he needed it and all. But we're back. We'll be back this afternoon where we'll have a chat. That'll be quite loose. We'll talk about the big topics. Probably talk about the man baby and his bloody behaviour. We'll probably talk about the state of the economy and the raft of economic data that's been recently published. Maybe talk about this ex-Labour Minister and MP who's just been nicked for trying to pick up a wee boy in Sussex. So we'll see what happens. Maybe even just do a Q&A like you guys. Ask us or you guys to present the subjects if you like. But I will take notes on a few things, but it'll be quite a relaxing return. Okay. Might even talk a wee bit more on how a market economy works. But the basics, of course, is if I have no money to spend in the market fucking fails. So, first one out the way, folks. Thanks for joining us in large numbers. Hit the like button, please. Hit the share button, please. Thank you very much for the super chats. Duncan, I didn't put yours up. I'm terribly sorry. I did mean to, but I get sidetracked now and again. But Duncan, thank you for your super chat. Alistair, thank you for yours. That gets the funds up and running because this is going to be a hard year. Going to be a real hard year. Especially if Reeves goes back with another emergency budget. It'll get harder. And of course, as we know, electricity prices have just went up again. So much for their fucking cat. So much for bringing electricity prices down by 300 quid. They could have brought them down by 1,000 actually. Just a matter of the will. They're just no fucking doing it. See you this afternoon, folks. Look after each other. Bye for now.